Anybody who tries to rule all the world's food is not right in my opinion.
They want us to support farming methods that pollute our soil, our air, our water, but we're going to tell them no!
More than 1,676 patents on seeds and plants. It began as a purveyor of controversial chemicals like Agent Orange, and Fortune magazine named it possibly America's most feared corporation.
2012, an epidemic swept through commercial bee colonies, killing up to 50% of the nation's bee colonies used to pollinate crops for farmers.
One of the main reasons that we are getting fat and sick, and the reason we don't know why, is because of Monsanto! Number 1 is Clarence Thomas, former attorney for Monsanto, later appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Number 2, Linda Fisher, Vice President of Government and Public Affairs for Monsanto, later appointed to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency as Deputy Administrator. And number 3 is our prime example, which has a long history in our government and Monsanto. His career, well, first of all, his name is Michael Taylor. Michael Taylor's career began in 1976 as a staff attorney for the FDA. 1981, he was a lawyer for a firm called the King and Spalding that serves Monsanto. From there, he went in 1991 as Deputy Commissioner for Policy at the FDA, and then later Administrator for the USDA. Then Taylor returned to Monsanto to become Vice President for Public Policy. It doesn't end right there, it keeps going. Then in 2009, he returned to become Senior Advisor to the FDA, and now he is the Deputy Commissioner for Foods in the FDA.
Genetically modified organisms have only one long-term test in England, and all the mice were getting cancer or becoming sterile.
You managed to anger one of these scientists so much, to such an incredible degree, that he wrote you a raging email. Let's get into that right now. Tell us what's in the email.
Here it is. I am no traitor against humanity. If this expletive causes infertility, awesome, with 3 exclamation points. Awesome. It's awesome it causes infertility. The world is overpopulated and people need to stop having children. This is one of the Earth's largest problems. If the Earth wasn't overpopulated, things like growth hormones wouldn't exist. The reason they do is that the Earth cannot produce enough food on its own to feed us all. This is why GMO is actually saving the planet.
All the different countries that either ban GMOs altogether or at least restrict the labeling, and our country is just completely bought out by them. So
find a place of love. Do not negate your emotions. Some of you might get angry just like me, or you might feel fear. It's okay. For us to move forward, we have to do this from a place of love.
Up to 2012, Monsanto spent $62 million lobbying our government, and members of Monsanto's board of directors have held positions in our government since the 80s. This condition is worsening nationally, but felt even more deeply in developing countries. Food and Water Watch poured over thousands of cables released on WikiLeaks agencies have attempted to burnish Monsanto's image. The U.S. State Department has exercised diplomatic persuasion to bolster Monsanto, facilitating field testing and approval of Monsanto crops. This means that our tax dollars have subsidized and nurtured Monsanto's expansion abroad. Is this what we want? No! Unfortunately, our tax dollars are working against us at home as well. In 2009, the United States had 93% of its soybeans and 80% of its corn grown and subsidized by Monsanto with their patented genes. GE food companies are not only pervasive, but they sell foods that are untested. Companies submit their own safety testing data, and independent research on GE foods is limited because biotechnology companies prohibit us from cultivating their products for our research purposes. Safety concerns should result in a halt to all sales of genetically engineered foods today.
Tip of the iceberg. This is just a small amount of what's coming. There are 90% of people, Republicans, Democrats, Green Party people, everybody who wants mandatory labeling so we can avoid this stuff.
How are you going to know what food is GMO? That's why we need labeling, so you can vote for non-GMO. When you stop buying GMO food, when you see that label, those GMO foods will be off the shelf. Off the shelf. So that's why we need labeling.
My name is Mike Dershman with the Organic Consumer Association, and today we're at the March Against Monsanto. So, why we're here today at the State of Illinois building, we want our policymakers to realize how many we are. At the federal level, they've been doing their best to ignore us. Corporations to the revolving door, hiring people right from Monsanto to run the FDA and USDA. That ain't gonna cut it anymore. We are going around the federal government and going to the state level to get our mandatory labeling laws so we have the right to choose. We need to go to our policymakers, the state policymakers, the Senate, the state Senate, and the state House in our different districts. We need to start organizing, going to their offices, talking to them, organizing in their districts, letting them know exactly how many people in those districts want mandatory labeling.